What seemed impossible actually happened. A lion cub, too small to face the world alone, got stuck in the mud. Its paws sank as if the ground had turned into a trap. Its roar wasn't strong yet, but its cries echoed like a desperate plea for help. No one would have believed it if it hadn't been caught on camera. The mud pulled it down, every movement making its prison even more suffocating. The fear in the cub's eyes revealed its terror of not making it out alive. It was a life-or-death moment about to unfold. The man who found it wasn't a hunter or an explorer. He was just someone guided by instinct and compassion. When he saw the cub struggling, he froze for a second. This wasn't just a wild animal. It was a life silently begging for rescue. The setting was treacherous. Rain from the night before had turned the ground into a deceptive swamp. Every step was uncertain. The earth seemed ready to swallow anything in its path. The man knew, if he approached the wrong way, he'd be in danger too. His heart pounded. The cub's fragile cries broke through any human defense. But there was risk. Getting too close could startle the animal, making it lash out with sharp claws and teeth. And if that happened, no one would walk away unharmed. The scene seemed frozen in time. The cub fought, the mud held tight, and the man took a deep breath, deciding whether to move forward. There was no room for mistakes. Every passing second meant more weight dragging the small body deeper. He took the first step. The mud swallowed his boots up to his ankles. With each step, the struggle grew harder, but turning back wasn't an option. The cub's gaze seemed to beg him not to give up. A sudden, terrifying crack broke the silence. The ground gave way slightly, making the man lose his balance. He almost fell right beside the animal. If he had, he might have been trapped too. The danger was real, brutal, immediate. The cub's breathing was frantic. Its wide eyes screamed desperation. The man reached out but realized he was still too far. One wrong step and both could be swallowed by the mud. The weak roar echoed like a muffled scream. It wasn't a threat, it was fear. The man swallowed hard, fighting to stay calm. He knew every failed attempt could come at a high cost. The tension grew like a knot in his throat. Time was running out for both of them. The sun began to sink on the horizon, and the shadow of night wouldn't bring any help. And in that moment, with the mud bubbling ominously, the cruelest doubt arose. Was there still a way to reach that cub before it was too late?
The man tried using a rope. He threw one end toward the cub, but the mud sucked it down like it had a life of its own. The rope sank, disappearing, making it impossible to secure anything solid. Desperation began to take hold. The cub thrashed even harder. Its tiny roars were cut short by the thick, wet sound of the mud. The more it struggled, the deeper it sank. The man felt the crushing weight of helplessness, as if he were watching a tragedy unfold before his eyes. He moved a little closer, but the treacherous ground nearly dragged him down too. His foot got stuck, and for a few seconds, it seemed like he wouldn't be able to free himself either. Panic surged through his body like wildfire. With a tremendous effort, he broke loose, but his boots were caked in mud. The tension grew. If the rescuer got trapped for good, there'd be no one left to save either of them. He tried improvising with a thick branch, pushing it toward the cub, but the branch snapped before it could reach the animal. The loud crack of breaking wood left only the heavy silence of frustration hanging in the air. The cub was exhausted. Its movements grew weaker. Its eyes no longer showed just fear, they showed surrender. The man knew he had minutes, maybe less, before the little one was swallowed completely. Then, suddenly, the cub let out a stronger roar, a cry of pain and desperation. The sound cut through the man's chest like a blade. There was no more room for hesitation. He waded even deeper into the mud, feeling its weight dragging at his legs. Every step was a battle against the ground that seemed determined not to let go. The risk was enormous, but there was no turning back now. His outstretched hand almost touched the animal, but at that moment, the cub, pure instinct taking over, tried to bite. Not an attack, just fear. The man jerked back reflexively, nearly losing his balance in a deadly misstep. The rescuer took a deep breath, steadied himself, and tried again. Sweat streamed down his face mixed with flecks of mud. Every muscle in his body was on high alert. The cub, torn between fear and hope, let out small whimpers. It was as if it were begging for help while still trying to defend itself from it. Then came the decisive moment. The man's next move could save the lion cub or seal both their fates.
The man clenched his fist tight and grabbed the cub's scruff, pulling with every ounce of strength he had. The mud resisted, sucking at the small body as if determined to swallow it whole. The effort was brutal. For a moment, it seemed nothing would give way. Then came a wet, muffled crack. The mud split open in jagged fissures, and the cub began to emerge, caked in sludge up to its neck. Its weak roar turned into a raw cry of survival. The man pulled, slipped, pulled again. Every movement was a battle against gravity and the swamp's hunger. His arms shook. His entire body burned with exertion. With one final heave, the cub broke free. Its light body collapsed against the man's chest, exhausted but alive. For a heartbeat, silence took hold, as if the world had paused to witness this moment. The little lion panted rapidly, eyes still wide with terror. The man held it firmly, hardly believing he'd actually succeeded. It felt like he'd wrestled life itself from death's grip. The cub let out a short, weak roar, but this time it was different. Not fear, relief. Its paws twitched, finally free. The mud that had trapped it now slid away, defeated. For a fleeting second, the animal's eyes locked with the man's. No hatred, no threat. Just a deep, almost human gaze that seemed to say everything without words. The rescuer set the cub down on solid ground. It tried to stand, stumbled, but found its feet. Still fragile, still trembling, but alive. The little lion took a few steps, glanced back one last time, and released a low, grumbling growl. Then it ran, vanishing into the brush, carrying with it the gift of a second chance. The man stood frozen, caked in mud, his heart pounding like never before. He'd risked everything, come dangerously close to being swallowed by the same fate that nearly took the cub. In the end, there was no glory, no trophy. Just the weight of a courageous choice and the memory of a look he'd never forget. A reminder that sometimes one person's bravery can rewrite another life's destiny. And there, in the mud that had almost become a grave, a story was born of survival, of courage, and of an invisible bond between man and the king of the jungle in its first defiant cry of freedom.